Hello there, my name's Deborah from Live Well with Chronic Illness, and I thought I'd just do a very short video for you today to explain my health discovery framework and talk you through it. And really, with this framework, everybody is different and everybody has different aspects of this that are playing into their health, and you can start in any of these places depending on which area is most problematic for you. But I generally tend to start up here with the inflammation circle, because inflammation is such a big driver of illness, and there's research studies showing now that inflammation is the root cause of many conditions, from Alzheimer's disease to cancer to multiple sclerosis to diabetes, you name it. It's inflammation that's actually going on in the body that is driving that disease process. And so anything that we can do to reduce our inflammation is going to help us to be healthier. But also, quite often, our symptoms, things like pain and brain fog and fatigue, they are symptoms of inflammation. So if we can reduce our inflammation levels, our symptoms decrease and we begin to feel a little bit better. So there's lots of different ways that we can reduce inflammation naturally by using diet and lifestyle changes. And there are foods that provoke inflammation, which we can remove from our diet, and there are foods that help the body to fight inflammation and that act as anti-inflammatory agents in the body that we can make sure we're eating. And then there's lots of lifestyle factors that are affected by inflammation and affect inflammation in both ways, and we can work with our lifestyle as well to improve our inflammation. So I generally tend to start with trying to lower the inflammation load, because if we've got high levels of inflammation, then working on all of the rest of these areas is going to be much more difficult. We struggle to sleep, we struggle to exercise, we struggle to think properly, we struggle to repair our gut if we've got inflammation going on. So it's a good idea to reduce our inflammation levels to start with, and then we can move on to other areas. And the next area that I like to look at is the root causes area. And this is because that quite often what's driving the inflammation is something going on in the body. The body doesn't just produce inflammation for no reason. So many of us have a load of either toxins or infections, bacterial infections, fungal infections, parasite infections, viral infections. You know, people have Epstein-Barr virus. Now we're seeing COVID driving this. So looking at the root causes of what's producing the inflammation, what's causing that, and eliminating some of those infections. Because if we have any infections going on in our body, if we have candida, for example, or some parasites, fungal infections, that's going to be putting a strain on the body. It's going to be provoking the immune system, and it's going to be driving that inflammation. So if we can eliminate those, the inflammation levels come down. And then the next area to look at is gut health. And this is so foundational. Many of you will be aware, I'm sure, of the research that shows that our gut microbiome and the composition of the bacteria and the viruses and the fungal organisms that are living in our gut is absolutely critical to our health. And we need those gut microbiomes, the friendly ones, to do all sorts of functions for us, from helping our gut to function, helping us to digest and absorb food, producing vitamins. Some of vitamins like vitamin K are produced by our gut microbiome, and they're required to keep us healthy and well in many different ways. So it's essential that we look at whether our gut microbiome is healthy and whether we need to do something to address dysbiosis in the gut, where the bacteria becomes imbalanced and the bad bacteria and organisms have taken over. So we need to address that in order to maintain optimal health, because if we have gut dysbiosis, that will also be driving inflammation. It will be driving mood disorders and making us feel very poorly. It drives fatigue, it drives brain fog, and it generally affects our well-being enormously. And it also creates what's known as intestinal permeability or leaky gut, where the very thin lining of the gut can be damaged by these unfriendly bacteria and organisms, and that then leads to lots of problems in the body as well, particularly food intolerances and allergies, and again, inflammation. So we really need a healthy gut in order to be well. So it's important to address that as any part of our health protocol. And then we move on to detox. And I've already alluded to the fact that environmental toxins are unhelpful for the body, and we are exposed to many, many different toxic substances on a daily basis. Oh, literally hundreds of chemicals that we put onto our skin, that we eat in our food, that we're drinking in our water every single day, and we're breathing in through our noses. And so we need to become much more erudite in what we expose our bodies to, much more discerning in what we allow to go into our bodies, because these chemicals, things like parabens, phthalates, formaldehydes, arsenic, benzene, aluminium, they are all very, very toxic to the body. And there are lots of studies coming out now that show that these different compounds are driving chronic illness. The connection is very clear, from diabetes, cardiovascular disease, heart disease. They're all connected in many ways to the presence of toxins in the body. And so the more we can eliminate toxins, the better. And we do that in two ways. Firstly, by turning off the tap that's coming in, so we stop exposing ourselves to these toxic products, and we choose to use non-toxic products so we're not exposed. And then secondly, supporting our body's detox pathways to help the body cope with the huge toxic burden that we're exposed to now. So there are certain vegetables and foods that contain the nutrients that we need to help our liver and our kidneys to work well, and we can help our body to eliminate toxins. And the more we do that, the more we can help our health and again reduce that inflammatory burden. So then moving on, I've mentioned there food and drink. So food and drink is foundational to our health for all of those reasons. It's what we are eating. They are the building blocks of our bodies. Proteins, carbohydrates, healthy fats, vitamins, minerals, and water is what our body is made of. And it requires all of those compounds in those foods in order to function on a daily basis. And if we're not getting those foods, we're not absorbing them, then we're not going to be able to function optimally. And whatever health condition we've got, we're going to feel worse if our body is not adequately fueled with the nutrition that it needs. So it's essential that we look at our diet and make sure that we're eating the right foods. There's no one size fits all with this. Everybody's body is different. Some people have food intolerances, sensitivities, allergies. So we need to make sure we're not eating foods that are provoking inflammation, but we need to make sure that we're eating all of the foods that our body needs to be healthy. And the same with drinks, fizzy drinks and carbonated drinks. There's lots of toxic agents in those, artificial sweeteners, colorings, flavorings, and again, they are provoking inflammation. So what we drink is just as important as what we eat in many ways, and we need to be making sure we hydrate with good quality filtered clean water, because that's what our body requires on a daily basis. So food and drink is essential. And then we want to be looking at our nervous system. So the nervous system, the brain and the nerves are an organ in the body in their own right, and they need care and support. And we hold trauma and we hold stress and we hold emotions in our nervous system, and that physically impacts on our physical health. And if we have stress in our nervous system, then we are going to be producing stress hormones which affect our body and physically change the way our body works. So in order to be optimally healthy, we need to reduce our stress levels, we need to calm our nervous system, we need to be in a healing state in our body, which is the parasympathetic nervous system, that lovely rest and digest. So we need to be making sure that we move out of being constantly stuck in fight or flight, and we're in the parasympathetic rest and digest in order to be healthy. And we need to look at trauma, we need to look at the way our vagus nerve is functioning, our autonomic nervous system that controls all of our non-conscious functions in our body. That's all controlled. Everything is controlled. Our heartbeat, our lungs, our digestion, our immune system. It's all controlled by our nervous system. So we need to take responsibility for caring for our nervous system and make sure that that's functioning optimally in order to be physically healthy. And very closely connected to that is sleep, because we need to be in that lovely parasympathetic relaxed state in order to sleep. And if we've got a lot of stress in our bodies, a lot of trauma, if we don't feel safe, then we struggle to sleep. And sleep is so critical to our health for everybody, but particularly when we have a chronic health condition, because when we're asleep is when our body does our detox processes, our cellular repair and our healing processes. They all take place at night when we're resting. So we need to be getting that optimal sleep in order for the body to be as well as it possibly can and to repair and regenerate from any illness. So we need to be fostering a state in the body where we can sleep well, and we need to be looking at our sleep hygiene to keep us well. And then we need to be looking at movement. And this is a struggle for a lot of people who are poorly and maybe in a lot of pain or maybe experiencing fatigue. We don't always feel like exercising. And it's important to understand that it doesn't have to be exercise. We don't have to be hardcore here. We don't have to be going to the gym. Any kind of gentle movement is going to help the body, because it's not just about, being fit and being slim. It's to do with helping our body to be healthy. So our bodies need movement. Our lymphatic system that drains toxins away needs movement. Our muscles need movement. Our joints need movement. It helps us to circulate nutrients. Our heart needs it to help it to pump effectively, to circulate nutrients and oxygen around the body. So we need to be doing a little bit of movement, and that might be a little bit of walking, or even some Tai Chi or some yoga. It can be seated movement. There's lots of different grades of movement, but wherever you are on your illness journey, a little bit of movement can really help your body to heal. So we need to be looking at movement. And then connection, so important. We often become very isolated when we're poorly. We don't feel well enough to go out. We don't socialise. We don't have the energy. And we quite often lose our jobs or be unable to work. And so we become quite isolated. And the body needs connection. We are creatures that are designed to work in harmony with other human beings. And we regulate ourselves by connection with other people. So we need to have that network around us, that support network. And it's so important to surround yourself with the right people, positive people, people who care for you, people who encourage you, people who understand you. And if you haven't got that, then you need to find your tribe and find those people, connect with support groups and charities that, support people with chronic illness. It's so important to feel part of a community and to have that as part of our healing experience. And then finally, the last thing is purpose. And this is something that many people put on hold when they become poorly. Many people feel they need to do all of these other things first, and then one day when they're well, they can have a sense of purpose in their life, and they can do the things that mean a lot to them, and they can follow their aspirations and their dreams. But actually, when we put it on hold like that, we end up just waiting forever to be for some perfect day when we feel perfectly well and we can then seek purpose. But actually, having a sense of purpose and meaning in life is essential for our physical health. There are studies that show that we're more healthy when we feel fulfilled and we feel that we have meaning and purpose in our lives. So it's something that we need to cultivate and incorporate into our lives even when we're poorly, even while we're sick. We need to also be doing something for ourselves that gives us a sense of purpose and meaning. And that doesn't have to be enormous. You know, many times, as I said, we can lose our jobs and that can disconnect us from that sense of purpose and meaning. But it doesn't have to be a job, it doesn't have to be a high flying career. It can be very small ways in which you can incorporate something in your life that matters to you, that means something to you. It can be a small hobby. It can be, you know, doing something as simple as feeding the birds, watching the birds, connecting with people on social media, supporting people who have, conditions similarly to you. There are lots of ways in which we can create and cultivate a sense of purpose in our lives whilst we're poorly, and that's really, really important to do because it actually has a healing benefit in and of itself. It helps to change our physiological state. And so these are all of the things that I've been sharing with you in my health discovery framework, and these are all the areas that I feel is essential for us to look at and to make small changes in each of these areas, and to make sure that we're optimizing our lives in each one of these areas. And that is a pathway to improving our health and our well-being. I hope you found that interesting. Thank you.